Welcome to the Lottery Girl fan feedback event. I'm Stephanie Bond. I'm the author of Lottery Girl, and this is where readers get to ask questions about the serial I launched last year, Lottery Girl, and also make comments about the story. To recap, in 2016, I wanted to write a modern story, but I wanted to do it with an old-fashioned story technique called serialization. Serials go back to the Charles Dickens age, and back then people couldn't afford to buy an entire book, so stories were serialized in newspapers. I'd always wanted to try writing a daily serial, and I decided to launch it on my website. So the way it worked is that readers could go to my website and get the entire story. If they came every day, they would get that day's episode for 6 months. And readers who wanted to either catch up on the story or read ahead could buy e-novellas that had that month's episodes in them. So there were 6 novellas for that serial. And in 2016, the story that I decided to tell is called Coma Girl. And since it was well received, in 2017 I launched Temp Girl, also a 6-month serial. And 2018 was Comeback Girl. And 2019 was Factory Girl. And 2020 was Lottery Girl. And this year I decided to start what I hope will be an annual event where readers get to quiz me about the serial and tell me what they thought and what their comments were about the serial, with the thought that when I put it into print at the end of the serial, I might change it. All the serials were put into print and audiobook at the end. But this year, I'm thinking, depending on what I hear and what kind of reader feedback I get, I might tweak the story a little bit and change it before it goes into print. So that's what the fan feedback event is all about. And I have questions that were pre-submitted from my Facebook followers, and most of those came from the Facebook serial group, which I'd like to mention. If you like the serial format and you're a fan of the serials, please think about joining the Facebook serial group. That's just a wonderful group of readers with a lot of lively discussion every day about the serial. Some of the members give their own recaps and certainly let me know what they think about the story and how it's progressing. And it's just a lot of fun. And also, that's where I make the announcements first about what next year's serial will be. So actually, this year's serial, since we're in 2021, when I announce the serial, it'll be in the Facebook group first. So please think about joining. Lots of really good people over there. It's a fun group. And that's where most of these questions came from. I think there's an opportunity. Somebody told me that there's a chance for you to enter questions and comments if you haven't already submitted a question and you'd like to. So please think about doing that. And meanwhile, I'm going to read from the questions that I already have. So let me just get started with Letitia's question. And she asked, what inspired you to write this story, and how did you come up with the characters that you used? So, Letitia, thank you for your question. What inspired me to write the story about Lottery Girl? Actually, I've always kind of thought about writing a story about a lottery winner. As a matter of fact, a few years ago, probably 15 years ago or so, I did write a story about a girl who won the lottery for one of my traditional publishers. But in that book, the lottery was used more as a plot device to just get her out of town, where she met a man and had a romance. Winning the lottery in that book was sort of a way to get her out of town and sort of the reason she was in hiding. And it worked for that story. But in that story, I didn't really get to explore the elements that I wanted to. Moreover, how winning the lottery would affect someone. So I always thought that was the story that I really didn't get to tell, and I wanted to do more with it. So as the serials progressed, and I had to think up, new and interesting ideas for the next year's serial, Lottery Girl kept coming up to me, and I decided this year would be the year I would tell the Lottery Girl story. So yeah, I've always really been interested in what would happen to a lottery winner, and so this was that chance to tell it. And the second part of the question is, how do you come up with characters that you used? So for Lottery Girl, I kind of went, I guess I kind of went backward on this one. A lot of the times I come up with a character and then plan a plot around the character. For Lottery Girl, it was the opposite. So I had the situation first, and I wanted to come up with a character that would be most affected. So when I thought about who could I have who would win the lottery and it would mean either really good things for their life or really bad things for their life, depending on their situation. So I needed a character who was maybe a little uneducated about money, who was probably struggling already, in a vulnerable position with her relationships, her work, in her career, in pretty much every area of her life. And to me, that's how I came up with the backstory for Lottery Girl, and tried to make her that vulnerable character that could teeter either way. That the lottery money could either ruin her or could make a big positive change in her life. So the next question is from Pat, and Pat asked, how do you come up with names for characters? So for those of you who read Lottery Girl, you found out probably more than halfway through the story what the name Mallory means. So the main character in Lottery Girl was Mallory Green, and I decided on her last name for obvious reasons. I wanted a little Easter egg in there, some connotation about money and the color of money, and just to have some sort of association there with her name. For the first name, I wanted it to either have something to do with good luck or bad luck, or something to that effect. So I actually looked up names that mean misfortune and bad luck, and to my surprise, Mallory was one of those names, because I really like the name Mallory. That kind of surprised me that it had kind of a less flattering connotation with it. But since I liked the name so much, I decided to use it. So Mallory Green was the character. There were times when I thought about giving her a backstory of knowing that her name meant bad luck, but I decided that with her backstory that was already made her vulnerable, that maybe that was a little bit too much to saddle her with. So she doesn't find out until more than halfway into the story, when the rest of us find out that Mallory actually means bad luck. And she finds out from the banker, who was also named Mallory, and who seemed to be a little bit of a sad sack. And it seemed to me that you could tell that woman knew that her name meant bad luck, and she kind of carried it around with her. And I was glad that I didn't let my Mallory do that. So that's how I came up with Mallory's name. As far as names for some of the other characters, all the men in her life, Trent, Ryan, and Josh, of course, those names, when I come up with characters' names especially for the heroes, and there is more than one hero or possible hero in the story, I try to come up with names that are very different and that make you, that separate those characters in the reader's mind so that they're not easily confused. So I felt like Trent and Ryan and Josh were all very different names, and would give you an idea of a very different character. So once I have the main character, I sort of develop the cast of characters around her in that way. I just think of names that would conjure up a picture or an association of a character in that person's life and how they might be related to them, either as a love interest or a friend, or in Delilah's case in this story, Delilah was a sister. I feel like Mallory and Delilah, very different names, and Delilah sort of conjures up a very different image than Mallory. And I wanted Mallory to kind of feel that, and I hope that the readers felt it too. So thanks for that question, and I'm moving along. And Connie asked, does it make you angry that some of the comments are actually hurtful? And Connie's talking about some of the comments that were made in the Facebook group. Like I said, this is a lively group of readers who don't hold back their feelings about how the serial is going and what they hope will happen and what they think might happen the next day, or how things will turn out. And so she's wondering if any of these comments ever hurt my feelings, and no, they don't. I hope that I'm delivering characters that evoke feelings, invoke reactions from readers. Now, trust me, I'm not doing this intentionally. I'm not trying to aggravate you. I want you to like the characters, but I also want to give you different characters. I don't want to give you the same character every year with every serial. I want it to be a new and different experience. And Connie's second part of this question was, I question how they could not understand some of Mallory's issues with money and trust, love, etc., considering her background. So Connie's picking up on the fact here that, yes, I set up Mallory so that she would be a very vulnerable character with this background that made her susceptible to con men and people that were maybe going to take advantage of her. Yes, I wanted her to be a little not silly, but I wanted her to lack the confidence to make those decisions. Remember, Mallory's in her mid-20s, and I don't know very many. I certainly wasn't making good decisions in my mid-20s. At least I'm not sure how I would have reacted if $52 million had landed in my lap at 25. So yeah, Connie's picking up on the fact that Mallory wasn't really set up to make good decisions. And then she goes on to ask, your characters are different and yet all come with their own set of problems. How do you write such a diverse group? Okay, good question. Thanks for that, Connie. So I've talked a little bit about how I come up with the main character and how I set her up in this instance to be vulnerable and to be that person that could go, where the money could make her go either way. Once you have your main character, this is a little behind the scenes information, and then you want to set up the cast of characters around the main character so that they bring out either the best or the worst in her. And, that could be male and female friends, that can be coworkers, that can be neighbors. I try to show all of my characters in lots of different settings so that you see how they are around different people and how different people are around them. So in this case, I started with Mallory and then I built out from there. She would need female friends. She would need a love interest or two. She would need, somebody who made her life harder. That was her ex and a boss that, wasn't particularly kind to her. On the other hand, I wanted her to have other people in her life who were supportive and were kind and fun to be around, like her coworker at the convenience store and the boss that she likes so well there. So, once you have your main character, you sort of build this cast of characters around them that I always call it rubberizing the cast. And that means coming up with cast members that will bounce off the main character or that the main character will bounce off of them and give me the kind of scenes and actions and reactions that keep that story moving forward. And then Connie goes on to say, the tombstone scene leads me to think you believe in karma. And she suggests that maybe my next serial could be Karma Girl, which I thought that was a great suggestion. I'll definitely put that in my file, Connie. And yes, I do believe in karma. I just feel like you pretty much get out of life what you put into it. And I think the problem most people have with karma is that karma takes its sweet time. And most of us would like to see a front row seat to karma that we don't always get to see. But I believe in karma. I believe that generally people get kind of what they deserve, either right away or in the end. And yeah, that's all I'll say about that. But Karma Girl, that's a good idea. I'm going to put that in my file. Dominique asked, was Mallory's character meant to be so disappointing as a person? You felt more than sorry for her. You felt annoyed with her extreme naivete. Okay, so this goes back to what Connie was asking. Does it make you angry that some of the comments aren't, as positive, especially in the beginning of the story? No, and Dominique, thank you for this. I guess I did set Mallory's character up to be disappointing in a way. Like, for example, I wanted her to make those mistakes. I wanted her to do all of those things with money that we hear about. You spend it, lottery winners that spend it badly get taken in by con men and women and fritter it away on useless things. So I wanted her to experience all of those things, and the only way that she could do it is to go through those bad situations. So I guess I did mean for her to be disappointing as a person, and she is naive because she doesn't know much about money. She admits that that's a one failing of hers, is that she's always let someone else take care of her money, or that she always had a bad association with money. That she, was always lived in a situation of scarcity. So she never knew, what to do with it. And so no wonder she didn't know what to do when she got it. So I guess, Dominique, yes, I did mean for her to be disappointed as a person. I hope that I pulled it out in the end and that Mallory pulled it out and that she learned a lesson. But the other point is I don't always get it right. I try to make my characters appealing, and I try to, make them people that are relatable. But, sometimes my characters, succeed a little better on paper than other characters. So, thank you, Dominique, for that question. And I'm moving on to Ellen's question. She asked, or she said, I appreciate Mallory's unconditional support of her family, but what did the DNA test say? And those are all caps, so she was shouting. Ellen made me laugh. Okay, so a long time ago I had a story that I wrote called Kill the Competition, and there was a scene in the story where the heroine received an envelope from an ex boyfriend of hers. It was someone who dumped her at the altar, actually. And, part of her story was getting away from a situation, starting over in a new city, blah, blah. So she gets this envelope from this man who has so wronged her, and she doesn't open it for, every day she looks at it and she thinks, what could it be? Is it an I'm sorry card? Is it, is an explanation on why he did what he did? Is it, what exactly is it? And so she looks at this card every day, but she's growing stronger and stronger. And in the end, she sends back the envelope without opening it. Now, I thought, my allegiance is to my character, and I thought that showed a lot of growth and strength as a character, that it didn't matter to her what was in the envelope. She had gotten past it and was starting her life over. My editor disagreed, and I guess so did everyone who had a hand in editing that story, because everyone had written notes all over it. But what was in the envelope? But what was in the envelope? So I ended up having to do an epilogue from the man's point of view when he gets the envelope back, to show exactly what was in the envelope. So I understand what you're saying here. You want to know what was in the envelope. I might add that in when I put the book into print, and I'll figure out if there's a way that I can make that happen without Mallory knowing, because like I said, I think it's more, it's stronger, and it's important that that it didn't matter to Mallory, but let me think about that. I appreciate the comment, and it made me laugh that you were, that you wanted to know. Okay, Janice said, out of the daily series main characters, so she's talking about all the serials, the Coma Girl, Temp Girl, Comeback Girl, Factory Girl, and now Lottery Girl, this one seemed different. Did you approach your process differently in creating the Mallory character? Okay, so Janice, thank you so much for asking this question, because it allowed me to kind of back into a situation that I talked to with some of my writer friends. So yes, this character was a little different because the situation in the story was different. So let me back up and talk about Coma Girl, for example. So in Coma Girl, she was in one place, and everyone came to her. So that made that story easier to tell, because she was in one place and she didn't have to move around. In Temp Girl, in that serial, Temp Girl's whole plot and reason for being was that she was in a different place every day for a different temporary job. That lent itself well to a serial. In Comeback Girl, by the end of the first month, we sort of knew a lot about the characters already, even the ones we hadn't met yet. And then moving very quickly into the second month, we met all of the characters in this small town that the heroine goes back to. When we met those characters, it was someone the heroine already knew. So as we're meeting that character in her point of view, she's telling us, this is my childhood friend. I remember when we did this. She tells us about her brother, and I remember when he did this. So we're getting to know those characters. They're new to us, but they're not new to the main character. And that way we could get some backstory, sort of shorthand. And very quickly we felt like we knew those characters because the main character knew those characters. The same thing in Factory Girl. The characters we met were people that Factory Girl had known her entire life. So she was able to give us insight into those characters, and so we felt like we knew them quickly. And then again, that because it was set in a small town, we saw those same characters again and again every day. In Lottery Girl, I made it a little harder on myself because her life changes so much after she wins the money that I needed to show her, definitely passing through a threshold from her old life into her new life. And because of that, she had to meet a lot of new characters and a lot of people that she hadn't known before. So there were lawyers and money people and therapists, and then, her father shows up and her sister shows up, and all these people that the main character didn't know. So in the case of this story, the main character could not give us these little shorthand backstory, little tidbits that helped us get to know those characters more quickly. So we felt like we were getting new characters every month. I know I felt it as I was writing it. And I suspect that from some of the comments in the Facebook group and from Janice's comment is that you felt it as well. The readers felt it as well. So yes, thanks for that insightful question. And I hope that wasn't a little bit too much behind the scenes about how I put the story together. But yes, very astute that you noticed that this story, Lottery Girl, was different in the way the story was told. She goes on to ask, Janice did, at what point in your writing process did you decide that Trent had to die? Um, and then leading on to that question is, did fan reactions to characters or story events change what you were planning to write in the next installments, or did you keep everything as outlined in the beginning? So when I write the serials, I typically have them pretty well thought out as far as like what the cliffhanger is going to be for each month, what's going to happen, big plot twists and turns, and how the serial is going to end. I typically have all of those things thought through, and they probably won't change. But that said, I do listen to feedback from readers, and I was listening to comments in the Facebook group about, what a terrible person Trent was, and how much, that everyone hated him, and how she should just, hire an assassin, and, all of these other things that she should do to get him out of her life. And I realized that what I'd been planning for Trent was that he would take half of her money and then implode with it, making all these bad decisions about money. Then I realized it would be better if somehow the money came back to Lottery Girl after she had learned her lesson. And then I realized that's how it could all come together. So it made more sense to me that she gets the money, she learns her lesson, and then she gets another big chunk of money, except this time no one knows about it. So she's learned her lesson and knows what she wants out of life, but no one knows about the money and can't harass her about it, and it's no longer a sort of a public, an event. Her life is no longer so public. Now that everyone thinks she's broke, they kind of move on to the next story. So it just kind of worked out. Trent was, not to be crass, but he was more useful dead than alive as far as this particular story went. So no, I didn't plan for it from the beginning, but sometimes those things happen. I am usually writing the serial as I go along. I'm not writing it very far in advance. So when those things come to me, I can pivot a little bit if I need to, if it's something that's not going to affect the overall story. But yes, I do look at comments, and I will say in this situation, the comments I was reading in the Facebook group certainly led me to think a little bit more about Trent getting his comeuppance. So yes, I am listening and watching and reading your comments. Okay, Pam said, I liked the end. Everything wrapped up well, but it drew out a little long, and she was just too dumb for too long. Can it be condensed? And then she goes on to say, but it might have been different as one book. I might read a little differently. So, Pam, I hear you. She was, maybe I will go in and tweak a little bit. Maybe she's a little bit more wise, a little more quickly to some of the things that are happening to her. And, I have to say that, as a narrator, she was keeping some things from the reader. Like she was thinking about things that she wasn't revealing to the reader. For example, how she felt about Ryan and how she felt about Josh. Those things she was probably already thinking about before she announced them, for the reader to know that she was thinking about those things. But yes, I will keep that in mind. When I go back to put it in print and to put it in audio, I might tweak it a little bit. Okay, and then Maribeth asked, does the story take place in real time or in advance? And she goes on to say, no COVID mentioned. So Maribeth, thank you so much for asking this question, because it was something I thought a lot about. So I had already planned and plotted Lottery Girl in very early of 2020. before COVID was even on the scene and before we knew it was going to change life as we knew it in 2020. Um, by the time the shutdown occurred and the pandemic started spreading, um, I felt like I was probably a little bit too close to this story for it to launch, for me to start changing things. The other thing is I decided we really didn't know at that point what the pandemic was going to lead to and if it was going to last or how long and how bad it was going to get. So I decided to just go on the thought and take some creative license and just assume that COVID had not happened in this story. And and honestly, it would have changed so much of the story. It would have added another layer of difficulty onto the story that I thought um, wouldn't be effective. You know, it wouldn't really do anything to advance the story. In fact, it would just make everything harder and a little bit more contrived. You know, for some scenes to happen. So I decided no COVID in Lottery Girl, even though we all experienced it in 2020. The characters in Lottery Girl didn't have to. And the other thing is, I decided I wanted to make the story a little bit more evergreen so that you know, people reading it years from now wouldn't necessarily know some of the things that had happened in the same year. I tried to do that with all the serials, even though things are going on and I make comments about, oh, the election this or this, you know, Halloween or, you know, celebrations that are going on or holidays or uh, um, even national events going on. I might make comments about them, but I typically don't comment on, um, you know, emotions about them one way or the other or how things turned out because I am trying to keep all of the story as evergreen as possible. So that, so that they don't seem dated. So no COVID, but thank you, Mary Beth, for asking the question and allowing me to explain why there was no COVID in the story. So the last question I had that was pre-submitted was from Amy, and she asked, do you have plans for more girls in the coming years? And she says they've been an enjoyable part of my day. So thank you for that, Amy. Yes, I do have plans for more girls serials in the coming years. I'd like to, I don't know, I'll keep this up as long as you keep reading and then you indicate that you would like another story. I love the feedback that I've been getting on the daily serials in terms of people seem to enjoy coming every day and reading like a little piece of the story, and it becomes like a little bit of a daily reading habit with their coffee or their friends, ever how they experience it. It's just been really gratifying to see the feedback from the format itself. And I do have an idea already for 2021 and the girl story that will launch on July 1. But I don't want to say just yet what the title is or what the story is about because it's a little different. And it's different than anything else I've ever written or have even attempted to write. So I want to get it in my head. I want to get the outline a little bit more shored up so that I can be confident that I can pull off this story. But I will say that I will announce the title of the story and the premise of the story of the new serial that launches July 1, 2021 in the Facebook group. So if you're in the Facebook group, that is the serial group, the Facebook serial group on my Facebook page, then you'll be the first to know the name of 2021 serial. And we'll start a countdown to the serial probably around May or June, and we'll set up to launch like previous years, July 1, and we'll run through December 31 again. And so I see some comments and some questions have come in, so I'm going to, excuse me, looking away from the camera and see what people are saying. So Mary says, love when characters from other books weave their way in. Was wanting more Detective Jack Terry. Okay, any chance Lottery Girl, Factory Girl might make a cameo in future books? Okay, thanks for that, Mary. So one thing back in 2016, when I started thinking about Coma Girl, I was actually pretty worried that readers wouldn't respond well to the format and to the first person point of view, and the fact that this was something I hadn't done before. It was outside of any other series that I'd written. So I decided one way to bring readers into the serial is to have cameos from other series, and more specifically into the Body Mover series. So I had characters from the Body Mover series come over in Coma Girl, and also in Temp Girl, and Comeback Girl, and Factory Girl, and decided to do it again with Lottery Girl. And the characters that come over, they don't typically have a big part, but they have cameos and little Easter eggs in there. For example, Detective Jack Terry, for those of you who read the Body Movers books, you actually find out more about Jack in the serials. There are things that people in the serial, that he tells people in the serials, that even Carlotta from the Body Movers series doesn't know. So that's just a little inside information. Thanks for bringing that up, Mary. That, yeah, you find out more about Jack in the serials. Any chance that Lottery Girl, Factory Girl might make a cameo in future books? So I never say never, and I do like a crossover character situation. And one thing I did last year that I will probably do again in the future is in the Facebook groups, I post bonus scenes. And for those of you who were in the groups, or members of either group, either the Body Movers Facebook group or the Serial Facebook group, know that I posted a bonus scene that showed Coma Girl coming back to talk to Jack from Body Movers about a situation that she was going through, and asked him about something he had told her while she was in a coma. And it just illuminated where Jack's head was at the time, and I used it to sort of set up the next Body Movers book. So if you want to see that bonus scene, be sure and join one of the Facebook groups, and that's what I'll probably do. I don't know that I'll do a lot of crossover from Factory Girl into Lottery Girl, and et cetera, from the serials to each other, but if I do, I'll do a bonus scene to show that. But thanks for bringing that up and allowing me to talk about it. And then Vivian says, can we have a crossover scene where Mallory is working with Marigold as part of her physical therapy training? Vivian, what a great idea. Okay, so again, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, so a crossover scene for where Mallory from Lottery Girl is working with Marigold, who was Coma Girl, as part of her physical therapy training. That's such a good idea, and I might just steal that. Thank you, Vivian. Okay, and then Karen says, I love the ending. Wish she had figured out her feelings for Josh sooner. Needed more time with them as a couple. We did talk a lot about how silly she was at times. Okay, so Karen was in the group, and yeah, she was talking about, why wasn't it obvious? Josh was the guy for her. Yeah, and did you get the sense too that Mallory was habitually made bad decisions about her life in the people that she was associated with? Probably because she had daddy problems, and she was looking for someone who would take care of her instead of recognizing her as an independent, thinking, talented woman in her own right, which is what Josh did. So it's obvious to us and not to her, but hopefully she pulled that out in the end. But I get what you're saying. Wish she had figured out things for Josh sooner. But here's the thing. See, once I get the couple together, you guys stop reading. So I have to kind of hold out and hold out for that happy ending until the very last minute. But I hear you, and thanks for the comments, Karen. Ellen says, love your serials. I told my 13-year-old granddaughter about reading your serials. She found a serial to read. She liked that type of book as much as I do. Yeah, so I've always been infatuated with the format of serials and could never quite figure out why publishers couldn't get them right, because I wrote serials for some of my publishers and they all, I was happy enough with the stories, but I feel like they didn't make as much out of them as they could have. And but those disappointing experiences in writing serials in the beginning of my career helped inform me on what to do in this case. So I love the serials and I'm going to keep doing them. I hope you'll keep coming back. So thank you for that, Ellen. And then Letitia is back. She asked the first question that I read. She's such a great member of the Facebook group too, as are so many of these women who are commenting. So glad to hear you're going to keep writing more serials. I look forward to them every July. Oh, and she says some really nice things that I won't say out loud. Thank you. I'm blushing. Thank you, Letitia. That's so sweet. Yes, I love this too, so I'll keep doing it. And Lisa says, I think we're all lost from January 1 to July 30. What are your suggestions for us to be satisfied? Okay, that makes me laugh. Thanks, Lisa, for that. Well, okay, so, let's see. So I don't really have any serials to turn you toward from January 1 to June 30th, but I'd say maybe, I don't know, revisit the older stories. You don't have to buy something new, but maybe reread something else of mine that you've read before. What I did in July of last year is I actually started the Coma Girl audiobook serialized every day starting in July. And I might do that again this year with a different serial in audio. And maybe I can start that before July 1. Not sure. I don't want to mess up the calendar, because it's kind of nice having them come out the day that you read them, July 1, and you read it on July 1 and listen to it on July 1. But I'll think about that. But, and I will get up a new bonus scene, hopefully in the next, let's say in the next 3 months. So I promise to get up a bonus scene in the next 3 months or so. How about that? I'll try to keep giving you, providing new things to read. But thanks for that. I know I talked to a friend about the fact that there's a 6-month gap between the serials. And I appreciate the fact that you all want to read something in January. But I also know that, fatigue sets in after a while. And, I don't want you to get too tired of this. And I need time to recoup and to write some other things. Currently, my mind is focused on the last book in the Body Mover series. And I have some other projects I need to finish too. I've got, I need a little break in between serials too. And I want you all to anticipate the next serial and for us to have enough runway to think about it and to have, fun anticipating the serial. And let's see. So I've got one more comment. Susan just piped in, I've read all your books. Thank you, Susan. And I love them all. Will Carlotta ever decide who she loves? Okay, so Susan's talking about Carlotta in the Body Mover series. And so the next book in the Body Mover series is book 12, and it's going to end the series. So let's hope that Carlotta decides one way or the other who she wants to be with. So yes, that's what I'm hoping, that she whispers in my ear before I start writing that book. So yes, let's all hope so. Susan goes on to say, I loved Mallory's growth too. Can we go back to the other Facebook groups to read the bonus scenes? So yeah, the bonus scenes I posted in either Facebook group. So if you're a Body Movers fan and you want to be in that, you want to stay in that group, or if you're in the Serials Facebook group, I posted the bonus scene in both groups, and you can go back and see the scene there in either group. So yes, thanks for pointing that out. So, okay, everyone, I think that's all. That's all the questions and all the comments, and so I really appreciate your time and your attention, and thanks for coming to the first annual, I hope, fan feedback live event. And I appreciate everybody, all your comments and just your support. This year has been tough on so many of and so many people, and I just count myself fortunate to have been healthy this year, and I wish the same for you and your family, and I just thank you so much for your support, and you're the reason I keep doing what I do. And so thank you, Happy New Year, and good night. Bye.